I guess I should start this with a disclaimer that sometimes there is some content or some message or something that is absolutely the perfect thing for someone at that moment. I guess at the same time, that piece of content can also be missing things that I or others might have a comment about. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Piece of content I saw on social media, and I'm not on there very often. I got to tell you, but I was on there, and I caught the algorithm served me the very first thing that I looked at and went, oh, that's missing a whole real interesting and important component. Before I go into it, the author here is probably smarter than me, more accomplished, all this stuff. So it's great. So I'm not dogging them, and certainly anybody who puts out anything, who puts any kind of content out there, they're going to be missing things. They're going to be leaving things out. And so I do that, you do that, we all do that. So good. So that's cool. So I don't want to look like I'm attacking somebody. But I do see a lot of this type of content out there. So I think it's worth talking about. So we use this as an example, knowing that it may have been exactly what that individual needed to see at that moment, or many individuals. But at the same time, I feel like it's worth talking about what's actually missing from it. So here's the content. It's basically a wish list, a Santa list. Oh, dear Santa, can I have a manager that, and then it starts going down a list. And I think if you're listening to this, if you are a manager, if you're an employee, well, most of us are doing some level of work. Great. You can look at it that way. I think you can look at it from a spouse perspective. You can look at it from a parent or child or whatever. You put it in whatever relationship you have in the world, throw it in here. And I think this stuff kind of applies. But I also think it applies what's missing. So you walk down through this and you see it starts out with, can I please have a manager that will trust me, is kind, will listen to me, backs me when I need it, values my well-being, is approachable and friendly, and believes in me. And who could argue with those things? Of course you'd want somebody like that. But what's missing is that's all about what's happening to me, believes in me, backs me when I need it, will listen to me, is kind to me, will trust me. And no, hey, that's all great. But a flip side of this, I also want a manager or a spouse or a friend or whoever to also, to be kind, but also tell me when I'm screwing up. Tell me when I'm not treating them well. Tell me when there's something I'm doing that's not effective for them so I can understand their perspective. It's not all about me. And so I think that's just something I see missing a lot. Maybe your guys are different. Maybe your algorithms serve you things that are more balanced. Maybe the algorithm knew I would respond to this and it wanted it in its machine, so it asked me to do it. I don't know. But and I don't want to sound like I'm some hard ass here, because I believe in all those things. And I think if you talk to the people I engage with on a daily basis, I think they would say I'm kind and I try to listen to them and all, I value their well-being and all those things, of course. But I also, I would hope, boy, that'd be an interesting survey to do. I would hope they would respond with, but he shoots me straight. When things aren't going right, I hear from him. I know, and I feel like it's authentic, and they're in our relationship. They're not always just looking for things that are serving them. And so hopefully that's the case. But I guess for you, and maybe, well, as I take this in, and maybe it applies to you, I look at this and I think, ooh, I just want to make sure that line of thinking isn't pervasive and doesn't sneak into my world. And candidly, it does sometimes. We do kind of get in this me. It's hard not to. We're humans. We're looking for our survival, and we've got innate software that's driving us to want certain things, and it's all about us and protection. But that's not really, in my experience, that's not really going to get you to flourishment. I mean, you could get everything you want and not really be flourishing, because I think there's some innate ebb and flow balance, a service to others, an engagement that isn't self-centered in that way. Now, again, I think you could say, well, if you're doing that work for somebody else and it's giving you the good feels and it is self-centered, whatever, we can go down that rabbit hole all day long. I guess my point is, when I look at a list like this, it's all about what somebody is doing for me. And while that's good, we should do things for one another. I think it's really dangerous to put too much of that emphasis on what somebody else should do for me, because I can't control the other person anyway. What should I be doing? What should I be doing for them? And what do I want from them that will help me be better for them and help me be better for myself and my family and my community and all that stuff? So again, if the guy would have included all this, it would have been as long as this podcast, it would have been a true Christmas list that opens up in a scroll and rolls clear out the door. So I get it. I'm not beating this guy up or his content up, but it just shows. I would have liked to, I think if this would be a perfect piece of content, or maybe a better piece of content, I'd like to see some balance in there, maybe, right? And so I think for each of us, it was just a moment for me to catch it, and I thought I'd share with you, because it's so easy to see it and hear it and feel it that, I need something for me. And it begins to get this kind of victimish kind of feeling, like I need somebody to save me. And we've talked about that. I need, employees need rescuers. Well, I'll tell you what, the employees I hire don't need rescued. They need set free. They need, we talk all the time. We hire fantastic people and we give them space to be fantastic. I don't need to coddle them. Now everybody needs help. We've got to have some structure, some process of where they can put their fantastic work and where they can get their raw materials to be fantastic. All that's a part of the model. I get it. But I don't know. For me, it's just, these things can be difficult. So I just want to share that with you. To be on the lookout, maybe, right? Again, I am not trying to come off as some schmuck who knows it all, because I do not at all. Nobody does, right? I don't think. but these kind of write-ups can be difficult for me, because I do think, while well-meaning, and again, maybe there was a certain person that needed to hear that. And if so, I'm glad. I hope they felt good about it. But I hope it's more sustainable. And I hope they're also hearing somewhere that, but you also have to, get out and get it, man. And you want a manager, you want someone who's going to help sharpen you. You want someone who's going to push you, help you to be better. And that's, I've tried to surround myself with people like that through the years. And I continually have conversations with my children that, hey, I love you as who you are. You're fantastic and you're awesome. But it's also my job as your dad to push you a little bit and to show you standards that maybe you aren't meeting yet, and love you through it and work with you. And that's hard. And they don't always hear that. And that's a, when I look at parenting, that's a real struggle for me, because I want them to always know I love them. And I want them to always know that I think they're awesome, because they are, and I do. But they don't always feel that, because being admonished and having someone to shoot you straight sometime when you're missing the mark, that's hard. And it's hard from an employee perspective. I cannot love your work product. I can still love you. And we have discussions like that in the company, but not everybody can hear those messages. And that's part of it. And I think part of the problem is because they hear too much of this stuff. They hear too much of, somebody needs to be perfect for you and never ruffle your feathers. They need to coddle you and pet you and put you in a warm blanket and feed you, warm milk and toast and whatever your thing is, right? I don't know. Rub your feet, whatever it is. There's some time for that. I'm good with some of that too, but that's not good. That's not the full picture. That's not flourishment in my perspective. So anyway, I share with you that. Sounds super judgmental. I don't know. This guy, again, he's probably fantastic and an awesome dude, and I'd probably love to sit down and talk with him. But I think this piece is potentially just as harmful as it is helpful. So I say all that to say, keep in mind as you're out there, do your thing. I guess, also maybe for all of us, we should keep in mind how we communicate, because we think we're being helpful sometimes, and all we're actually doing is perpetuating a victimhood. And that's not good either. Right. So I don't know. I guess your mileage may vary all the way, but I hope this, wherever you are, regardless of what's going on, regardless of what's happening, we're heading towards this holiday season. I know that weighs very differently on folks. We've all lost people in the year. We've all had rough years at times for all things, but then there's all this joy, and depending if you've got what's happening in your world around family or friends or experiences, or ending the year is strong, weak, bad, good, whatever. It's an absolute potpourri of life towards the end of a year. It's the ending of, even though nothing magic happens from the December 21st or December 31st to the 1st of January, but it's like all of a sudden a new year, there's all this stuff going on. And so I just hope in that process and whatever's happening to you, you're flourishing.